Hey folks, it's Josh Reeves here with you, and want to give you a quick update on our progress. This is May 29th, 2015. We last spoke, the last video I put up was on the 21st, so roughly 9 days ago or so. And in that video I detailed our urgent situation that we're in to keep our work afloat and keep everything going, and we really need your support right now, as I said in that video. But the disappointing thing is that you guys kind of proved my point. As I said, we've had that video up for 9 days now, and in 9 days we had 491 views, but we've had about, not even 1% of that even respond. You know, roughly 10 people have contributed small amounts, and it's helped us, but we're still not where we need to be. But my point is, again, obviously people want my videos, they want to see what I'm going to put out there, they want my information, but they don't want to help us in time of need, and that's, you know, that's almost impossible to be able to get work done under those conditions. But what help we have gotten has helped a lot. Thank you to those out there who have contributed, even if it was a small amount. We need other people like you to do the same. If everybody that had watched this video had donated $5 each, we would be beyond golden. But the problem is, you've got a whole lot of people out there and only a small amount who want to contribute to our work, and that's just not going to be able to get the job done. And we've got a lot of important stuff going on. I'm working on this Spellcasters film. I've got tons and tons of projects going on, but we just need more support to go the rest of the way. Right now we're trying to get the show back on air. We're going to start small and build out from there. We're very close to this. Really, at this point, you know, $200 would get us back, at least back to doing, you know, a podcast type show by Monday. That's a minimum. You know, if we had 500, it'd be even better. But if we can just get, you know, let's say one person out there. There's one person that's going to watch this video. Maybe you're that one person. If you're that one person that can donate $200, guess what? You get to be the hero, and you get to get us back on air. And Monday, when I do a show, I'll mention your name as the special person that got us back in the saddle. So, you know, if you can't donate 200, hey, throw 20 in there. Whatever you can. But I just think at this point, us not being able to get back on air and have regular broadcasts, if only, you know, $200 is standing in the way of that, I mean, come on. We can do this. Let's do this, people. So, maybe that's going to be you. But hey, if you can't do the full 200, you know, do 20, do 10, whatever you can. That's the problem, is that everybody's thinking they can't give something, even if it's $5. You know, never think that, oh, I can only give $5, so that won't help. Yes, it will help. What doesn't help is everybody thinking that their $5 or whatever won't help. That's what doesn't help. And I wish people could understand that, make my job a lot easier. Because I don't like having to tell people, that's a problem, you know, with what I do, the way this works, you have to tell people to support your work. I don't like having to do this. It's not a fun part of the job for me to have to fundraise, and, you know, it seems like that's all I do. Because I'm constantly trying to have to, you know, to find funding for these projects, because they're not cheap. They cost money to make. And when it works, and everybody chips in a little bit, I've seen this work. I've been doing this for years. You know, this is my 8th year doing radio. Since 2007, I've released 5 full-length films, working on my 6th. A whole slew of mini-films, live presentations. I mean, I've done a lot of interviews, a lot of hours, thousands of hours of radio. But unless you tell people, you know, hey, we need everybody to band together and help out with this, then people just don't help out on their own. So please don't prove me wrong, because with the new format, I'm going to try to go back to this honor system thing, where instead of having archives everybody has to pay for every month and have memberships and all that stuff, we want to try to do it on the honor system, where we have a monthly goal, and as long as we meet that monthly goal every month, then we don't have to have, you know, membership archives, stuff where you have to pay and all that. If we can keep that model going, that's how I'd like to do it, because we did that in the past and it was successful. I want to do that again. It's just more fun and better for everybody. But again, it's reciprocal. You know, you can't just take, and download the free shows and not help us out every month, because we'll be in the situation where we won't be able to do that, and we'll have to go back to the old format again. But again, with 491 people viewing the last video and only maybe 10 contributing small amounts, that's not gonna, that's not gonna get the job done. 10 people out of 500 or whatever is, I mean, we got to have way more than that. There's no way we can get anything done with that small of amount contributing. So, and I know that some of you, want to contribute, or you contributed in the past, and, you can't contribute now. And I'm not talking to you, Those of you who've contributed a lot. But I'm talking to the people who, there literally have been people who send me messages, who have been sending me messages for 4 or 5 years, and they always say the same thing. It's just not a good time right now. It's not a good... Well, it's never been a good time for some of you. And that's the problem. When is going to be a good time? There's never been a better time than now. So don't give me that, it's a bad time stuff. Because I've heard it, and I'm tired of hearing it, and I've heard it for the past 8 years. So, we've got some links to some of the fundraiser things here. It'll be in the bottom of the video in the Read More section. You can also just go to my website, www.theglobalreality.com. We have a donate button there. You can contribute that way. Really what we need right now is we're just trying to put together enough money to get a rudimentary show, basically podcast, daily free podcast, all that stuff. And then, once we get that part of it rolling again, then we'll need, a few more $100 after that. I'm going to go back to I want to get the stream. It's okay to have a show and have a radio show and stuff, but I always had the live stream and then the archives. And I want to go back to that. Where people can listen to an actual live streaming show and not just a recorded podcast or whatever. But we're still going to do the weekly video stuff as well. We'll have video reports and audio reports, all kind of basically go between them each week. So you can do that. You can hit up all of our projects, all of our stuff to support our work there at my website, www.theglobalreality.com. If you're not comfortable giving a cash donation, you don't want to do it that way, you can always go to our Amazon wish list and get something off of there. We have all kinds of stuff on there that we need for soundtracks for these films, new computer upgrades and stuff to make all the stuff look better, better camera upgrades. We've got all kinds of stuff there on our Amazon wish list. A lot of people have, in the past, have gotten stuff for us that way, and it helps, but it helps a lot, really. I mean, there's always newer stuff coming out, and if we can get newer equipment, stay on top of that, we can, continually make our stuff look better. And that's one thing I've been happy about, is I feel like my films get progressively better and better. The quality of them gets better and better. And the Spellcasters film that I'm working on right now is, I say that about each one. Each one I say, I think this is the best one I've ever made, but it happens progressively. You get better. I've noticed every time I make a film, I notice I've gotten better since the last one. I don't know how it's possible. It's just not like there's practice going on in between there, but I've just noticed that when I'm done with one film, when I go through the process after I've done with that, and I go start working on another one, it's just, and that's how this is. But this film's insane. I don't know how long this thing's going to be. I'm already decided there's going to be a part 2 to this film. Part 1 will be Hollywood, mostly just focusing on the movie industry part of it, and then I'll do a part 2 later on, a couple years or whatever, and that'll be dealing with the music inside of it. I mean, there's too much to do it all. Try to do it all in one film. I've already had to cut a lot of stuff I want to have in this thing because I'm sitting on a mountain of stuff. Excuse me, but it's going to be a great film because, again, as I've stated, there's always those things whenever you make a film. There's always the things that you're setting out to cover and setting out to discuss and get into. And then ultimately there always ends up being things you weren't expecting that you weren't counting on that you find. And that always happens to me, and of course it's happening with this film. But we're getting into the whole history of Hollywood. I don't want to give too much away about what this thing's going to be about, but I think even if you think you know something about the history of Hollywood and mind control, and because before I started making this film, I thought I knew something about it. I tell you what, since I've been making this film, I've learned how much I don't know. This film will absolutely not only seal the deal on what Hollywood is, but I think it's going to open. I think it's going to, even people, I think if you're already awakened to whatever level you're currently at, as far as understanding all the knowledge and knowing a lot of the different stuff that's out there, even if you're at an advanced level, you're going to learn something. You're going to come to another level after you see this film, The Spellcasters. I absolutely believe it. I'm shooting to have it out July is my goal, but again, it's, same old story, man. The funding thing. I need about $500-600 to finish that, which is not, it's not a lot. This is really, to be honest with you, the way this thing looks and the information that's in it and the way it's going to be presented, I can't believe that this film is, you got to understand, my last couple of films have had huge budgets, had to have huge budgets because we had to travel all over the country to film them. This is not one I've had to travel, so we had a much lower budget. I've only put, less than $2,000 into the Spellcasters. We only need $500 or $600 to finish it, so you're looking at like $2,500 total budget or something, which is just, no one can make a film for $2,500. It's not like this, especially not when you have to pay for, clip licensing and all that crap. But, so yeah, 200 is really our goal, absolute minimum goal. If we had 500 or 600 or whatever, for the radio thing, so we could get another shoutcast server going and stuff like that. If we had that immediately, that would be great. But 200 minimum, we could be back rocking and rolling and have a show up by Monday. So, and then, after that, we can try to get, once we get that show rolling, that's my goal. Hey, if somebody comes up with $500 right now for it, that's fantastic. But, I'm not shooting that high. It'd be great. I'd love that. $500 would help us tremendously. But even just, that minimum 200, that way we get back with, get some shows going, and we work towards getting the Shoutcast server going again. So we have a daily stream, regular stream. We'll play the show live. You can listen in, and then, we'll play repeat shows on there after that. And then, like I said, the Spellcasters thing, if you want to get in on that, you want to get your name in the movie on that, and the credits, $100 will get you in the special thanks, $500 gets you co-producer, and then if you do 1,000 or more, you can get yourself in the executive producer credits in the film. So that's something that we always do with the films, with the people that donate the most. They get to see their names in the credits and know that their contribution made a huge difference to the work. And you'll definitely get a prize pack. If you come in on that level, $1,000 or more, or somebody says, hey, here's $3,000, throw this towards the Spellcasters. Boy, you'll definitely get a big prize pack for that as well. So, so please help us out. We're too close now and have too many big things happening, especially with this UK television show on Hollywood and whatnot that I got interviewed for back in April. It's a big time for us, and we're still working on getting our rock wall dig together. I'm so glad it worked out that we had to delay some of the work on that. We've already put a lot of money into that project, but we have been absolutely so inundated here. We've had a drought in Texas for the past 4 or 5 years. And I can't, it's ironic, I can't help but think there's a connection. Right about this time was when we were supposed to be having a rock wall dig. And had we done it on schedule like we were planning to do, it would have been bad news. Really bad news. We've had massive, I don't care where you live, it's world news. There's been massive flooding here. I wanted to build a fucking ark last week, I'm telling you. Started grabbing them up 2 at a time. I grabbed my cat. I was like, there's only one of you, but fuck it, let's go, man. We're going to get out of here. It was ark building time. But, they had some problems with previous digs at Rockwall back in the late 90s and stuff, where they didn't even go down very deeply. And they had to start filling this stuff back in, because if you start getting rain and you're down there in it digging it out, and you're pulling all the topsoil and all the overburden off of this thing, and it's exposed, it can collapse very easily. There was parts of it that collapsed on them last time. But with the amount of rain and the torrential flooding that's been going on here, it's just been insane. Literally like Waterworld. I mean, it looks like the fucking Florida Everglades in Dallas. And if you've ever been to Texas or this part of Texas or anything, you know that's not normal. It's been horrendous here. And so it's kind of good that we've had to delay that a little bit, because, man, somebody could have gotten killed. There's no telling what could have happened had we, been down there with half that wall, because we're going to be going all the way down to the bedrock when we do our dig. And I can just imagine, had we been, I mean, at this point, it's almost June, so we should have been probably, the schedule that we were on, we should have been pretty close to the bottom at this point, which would have been, we wouldn't have been able to get it filled back in quick enough because of all the water. So we're going to shoot for later in the year if we can get the rest of the funding that we need to finish that. We've got, volunteers and construction company and all that stuff. We just need, about 15 grand or so to secure the digging location and all that. That's been the biggest issue with the whole thing. I mean, I wish somebody would just, come along and say, well, I'll buy a piece of property with the rock wall on it. You can do whatever you want dig-wise on it, and then after we're done, we'll sell it off or whatever. That really would be the ideal circumstance, but unfortunately that so far hasn't happened, but I'm still holding out hopes that will happen. What else? All kinds of stuff going on. You guys see this Kylie Jenner thing where she's talking about chemtrails? And of course, the stuff that just happened recently with Bruce Jenner, and he's transgender, transitioning into being a woman. And I've seen this several times. I've been, when you've been involved with this stuff, when you've been dealing with this stuff as long as I have, you start to see things and you remember patterns and whatnot. And I can remember, gosh, this was probably back right around the time when I started doing my radio show back in 2007. Back then, the 9/11 truth movement was running hot, boy, and I was right dead in the middle of it. I was a big into the 9/11 truth movement, but got disillusioned with the whole thing really shortly, just a couple of weeks before I started my radio show back in September 2007, and I saw that it was becoming the hamster wheel that we know it's now become. But I mean, even back then, it was hard to make people see that, And I was one of the few people that was saying, this is a hamster wheel. That's why there's so many clues and mysteries and questions and whatnot surrounding 9/11. Same thing they did with Kennedy. It's a hamster wheel. They get you running on the hamster wheel, and then you're not paying attention, looking at everything else in the bigger picture that's going on. And that's what I started to notice. Every time I would bring up bigger picture stuff, or stuff that wasn't specifically about 9/11, a lot of the people that were in these 9/11 groups that I was in would just, they didn't want to have it. They didn't want to talk about anything that didn't have anything to do with 9/11. And that's by design. It's absolutely by design. It's to keep you in this hamster wheel so that you never get anywhere. You just stay stuck on the one issue, arguing over the minutia and detail of it, and that's exactly what they want. But I was starting to see through it back then, and so when I started my radio show, it was shortly after that I started finding out about all the Council for National Policy stuff and all of that. But back around that time, I started noticing that was when Rosie O'Donnell came out as a 9/11 truther or whatnot, and then shortly after that had a big falling out and left the View. And that was shortly around the time Charlie Sheen came out about talking about 9/11, and then of course a few years after that had his meltdown live on the Alex Jones show. All these things I started seeing by design. I started seeing them trying to discredit Rosie O'Donnell and her stuff with 9/11 truth because she was a lesbian, And that seemed by design. That's, you know, the Charlie Sheen stuff. And this newest one with the Kylie Jenner thing and the whole Kris Jenner, you know, publicly being transgender and transitioning to a woman. Another massive psychological operation. Another way to equate real factual information with sleazeballs and coot bags. And that's exactly what this Kylie Jenner thing is. It's funny how they always want to try to associate it with some homosexual connotation. You know, I've said it many times on the record, I don't give a fuck if you're gay, whatever. What you fuck or want to fuck is irrelevant to me. As shocking as that is to some people, I just don't give a fuck. You can have sex with whatever you want. It's not relevant to my life, and I could care less. But I have a problem with every time one of these stars comes out about some particular conspiracy issue, whether it be 9/11 or chemtrails or whatever it is, there's always some gay-connected thing. I mean, there's tons of these that then knocked him out of commission. I remember Alex Jones had a guy that used to play guitar for Duran Duran or something. He used to have him on. Warren Cucurello, I think was his name. This was back 2005, 2006. I think it was even before I was on air. And, of course, all that stuff came out about him, you know, Warren Cucurello doing gay porn videos and all this stuff. And it just, I kept seeing these connections where every time somebody would come out about talking about 9/11 or conspiracies, they then would have something gay connected to them. And it just stopped being like a coincidence to me. And then, he was a former British intelligence agent, MI5 or MI6, one of those. There was a guy by the name of David Shaler, who Alex Jones actually put in one of his documentaries. I think it was Terror Storm or one of those. And, you know, this guy was touted by Alex Jones and many others as a, you know, legitimate whistleblower and someone who's been in the intelligence community and, you know, was saying now 9/11 was an inside job and all this stuff. And then what happens to him a couple of years later? All of a sudden he gets disgraced, loses his job, is dressing as a woman, cross-dressing. And I was like, God damn it, there it is again. Why is it that every time one of these people, not every time, but in a lot of these cases, when somebody comes out about some conspiracy issue, all of a sudden there's some homosexual scandal connected to them. So when I heard about this week, about this Kylie Jenner thing with her posting something about chemtrails, I mean, the fact of the matter is, because of social media and things like Facebook and all this stuff now, you know, memes have transformed the landscape. I mean, what started out, I remember back in the early days of my show, the old days of the old chat room, you know, memes were just used to, you know, to fuck with somebody or make somebody laugh or, you know, cut somebody down. But now, these memes have transformed into, it's because of Twitter, you know, they've come into these, they've become these really quick informational things that you know, do help sometimes. But again, not a coincidence. How come this didn't happen? How come she didn't post this on anything like this on any of her pages back when, you know, there weren't any scandals, back when the Kardashians were, you know, the top shit in fucktown and there weren't any scandals and Kris Jenner wasn't transforming into a woman. Notice how none of this happens and none of this attention on her talking about chemtrails happens or occurs until after they've completely fallen to shit, you know. But that, you know, associating, that's another part of the game, you know, associating it with somebody that's related to the Kardashians. So, and, you know, there's a lot of people out there who'll try to argue that and say, no, it's a good thing. She's a hero for speaking out about chemtrails. And I don't agree with those people at all. These people are there to poison the well and make honest-to-goodness legitimate research be tainted, because then from now on there's going to be a certain section of the population, and of course there's a certain section of the population doesn't even know who Kylie Jenner is, could give a fuck, but there's going to be a whole other section of the population that knows quite well who she is. And whenever that section of the population from now on hears anything about chemtrails, they're going to go, oh, yeah, that fucking crazy bitch Kylie Jenner shit. Oh, you're one of those people, huh? So they love doing that. So the best thing that we can do when something like that happens is to put it out there publicly, like I'm doing now, and on message boards or whatever, and just put it out there that you know what this is, that this is horse shit to poison the well for real honest to God researchers. So it's just something to be aware of. Anyway, I wanted to mention that because it was kind of a big talking point this week. Anyway, theglobalreality.com. Go there, support our work, make a contribution right now. Doesn't matter how much it is, big or small. The larger the better. We can get more done that way. But, really, if just one person came through with like $200 right now, we'd be back up doing a show by Monday. theglobalreality.com. We'll also have a link here at the bottom of the video in the Read More section. We'll have some links there to some of the fundraising pages, and we'll also put one to our download shop, which you can also get to at my website, theglobalreality.com. You can also pre-order copies, downloads, DVDs, Blu-rays of the Spellcasters. That'll help us out too. The more pre-orders we get, the more that'll help us towards what we need to get the rest of this film done. So please help us in whatever way you can. theglobalreality.com. Josh Reeves signing out.